There are moments in life when everything feels heavy. When the noise of the world grows louder than your inner voice. When doubt wraps around you like chains, and pain plants itself deep inside your chest, quiet, but unrelenting. You walk through days with a hollow ache. Nights feel longer than they should, and mornings come without hope. You begin to wonder, am I enough? Do I have the strength to stand, to speak, to try again? There are moments when the world, cold, cruel, and careless, tries to silence your voice. It may not shout at you, but it whispers behind your back. It carves judgments into your story without asking your truth. It miswrites your name into history with bitter, twisted lies. It tells you that you are small, that your pain defines you, that your struggle is who you are. But in those dark places, there is something sacred that survives. There's a flicker, a whisper of courage, a quiet knowing, I was made for more than this silence. I was not born to break beneath the weight of someone else's version of me. And it is there in that exact moment that Maya Angelou's voice rises like a flame through the darkness. She doesn't just speak, she testifies. Her words don't just rhyme, they resurrect. She doesn't offer comfort alone. She offers a call to rise. StillIRise is not just a poem. It is not simply ink on paper or a beautiful collection of lines. It is a declaration, a defiance, a rising tide in the body of every person who has ever been stepped on, silenced, underestimated, or shamed. It is a reminder that your story is not over, that your scars are not shameful, they are sacred, that you are not meant to bow your head in defeat, but to lift it high with the quiet pride of someone who knows they are made of something eternal. You are dust. Yes, but not the kind that disappears. You are rising dust, resilient, bold, impossible to keep down. Like the sun that returns after every night. Like the tide that comes back after every storm. You are meant to rise. Maya Angelou's words echo across generations because they speak what the soul knows but the mouth forgets. That strength does not always roar. Sometimes it simply stands. That dignity does not come from power or fame or wealth but from refusing to stay small when the world expects you to. That rising isn't an act of pride, it's an act of survival, of faith, of claiming your breath when the world tries to steal it. So today, we invite you to not just listen to a poem, but to feel it. Let it pour into the wounds you've been hiding. Let it stir the fire you've been afraid to feed. Let it remind you of who you were before the world told you otherwise. This is your moment, your resurrection, your rise. Because like Maya, you rise, you rise, you rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt but still, like dust, I'll rise. They may write you into the pages of history, not as you truly are, but as they want you remembered, twisting the truth with cold hands, bending the facts to fit their narrative. They may take your story, your name, your struggle, your spirit, and reduce it to something convenient for them. A caricature, a lie, a version of you that suits their comfort more than your truth. They may do it publicly with headlines, rumors, and records that erase your goodness. Or they may do it quietly with silent judgments, glances full of contempt, or the absence of your name where it should have been spoken. They may pretend they know your path, though they've never walked in your shoes. And worse still, they may convince others that you were never enough to begin with. They will try to trample over your worth, not just once but over and over. They may push you into the ground with words, with silence, with actions so small yet so cutting. You may find yourself face down in the metaphorical dirt, humiliated, discarded, overlooked, or misjudged. But what they often forget is that dirt is not just for burial. It is also the place where seeds are planted, and what they think is your end is actually your beginning. You, like dust, cannot be captured or kept down for long. Dust is light. Dust is resilient. It floats, it drifts, it dances even after being walked on. It rises without permission, and so do you. You rise not because they let you, not because they see your worth, but because it is your nature to rise. Even in the face of bitter lies, your truth waits patiently, untouched, unwavering. Even when you are pressed beneath the weight of injustice, you still possess the power to return. Even when your name is buried, your essence cannot be. This stanza, these 4 short lines carry the pain of generations. But they also carry defiance. A quiet, unwavering resolve. A refusal to stay down, because being walked on does not erase your power. Being misrepresented does not redefine your truth. Being hated does not remove your light. In fact, each of these trials becomes the wind beneath your rising. And so, Maya says, like dust, I'll rise. She doesn't argue, she doesn't explain, she simply declares it. That is what strength looks like. Not noise, not rage, not violence, but a rising quiet, sure, unstoppable. If you have ever been misnamed, if your truth has been denied, if you've been walked over, shamed, forgotten, or rewritten, this is for you. You are not their version of you. You are not the dirt, you are the dust, and dust always rises, so let them write what they want. Let them twist what they must. Let them bury you 1,000 times, and each time, rise again. Because that's who you are. That's who we are. The world may push us down, but still like dust, we rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. There's something about confidence, especially when it blooms in someone the world expects to remain quiet, that makes people uncomfortable. That makes them shift in their seats. That makes them whisper under their breath. Maya Angelou doesn't just speak here, she confronts, she holds up a mirror to a society that's unsettled by a woman who knows her worth. By a black woman, bold, brilliant, and unashamed, who walks like she owns the ground beneath her feet. And maybe that's the real threat, not power taken, but power never surrendered in the first place. Does my sassiness upset you? She asks the question with a raised eyebrow, not out of apology, but out of curiosity. As if to say, why does my joy offend you? Why does my confidence feel like rebellion to you? Why does it disturb you that I carry myself with light? You see, people are rarely threatened by weakness. What unsettles them is a person who refuses to be small, who dares to shine in a room that was built to dim them. They want the walk to be hesitant, the voice to be quiet, the presence to be meek. But here she is, walking like royalty, radiant with richness the world can't measure. Why are you beset with gloom? The poem calls out the absurdity of that discomfort. Why should my presence make you uneasy? Why should my joy cost you yours? Why should I have to water myself down to make you feel full? Then comes the line, one of the most iconic in all of Angelou's work. 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Let that settle in. Not just oil wells somewhere out in the field, but oil wells pumping, gushing, overflowing right in her living room. This isn't borrowed wealth. This isn't inherited favor. This is the wealth of spirit, the richness of being, the luxury of knowing who you are. She's saying, I carry abundance within me. Even if I have nothing, I walk like I have everything, because confidence is not bought. Because the worth I carry isn't given by you, and it can't be taken away by you either. And isn't that something so many of us need to hear? That you don't need permission to shine. That your light doesn't need to shrink so others feel tall. That your self-worth doesn't depend on approval, applause, or validation from a crowd that's too afraid to rise themselves. So walk tall, laugh loud, wear your pride like perfume. Let your confidence fill the room like scent, like music, like power. Yes, it might upset some people. Yes, they might whisper about your sass, your attitude, your arrogance. But that's not your burden to carry. You don't owe the world an apology for your joy. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your confidence. You don't need to dim just because others haven't yet found their light. There is oil in your soul. There is gold in your truth. There are treasures within you, deep, flowing, unstoppable. So walk like the universe itself lives in your bones. Walk like your ancestors planted diamonds in your spirit. Walk like your living room has oil wells because your soul does. And never, ever apologize for that shine. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. There are rhythms in this world that cannot be stopped. No matter what happens, the sun will rise. No matter how long the night, the moon will glow again. No matter how strong the storm, the tide will return to the shore, faithful, certain, true. These lines from Maya Angelou are more than poetic metaphors. They are laws of nature, and she invokes them for a reason. She's telling you, you are not a mistake. You are not broken. You are part of that rhythm. You are not outside of creation, you are woven into its design. Just like the sun, you are meant to rise. Just like the moon, you are meant to glow. Just like the tides, your return is not a question of if, only when. There will be nights when the darkness feels endless. Moments when the pain settles in your bones, and you forget what light ever felt like. You may feel lost, empty, hopeless. You may feel like you've fallen too far to ever stand again. But then, somewhere inside you, often quiet, often unnoticed, something begins to stir. a flicker, a heartbeat, a whisper of resistance, and suddenly, hope, that ancient, rebellious force, starts to move. Maya calls it hope springing high. Not crawling, not creeping, not hesitating, but springing. Leaping with joy, rising with force. Because even after being pressed by grief, crushed by the world, and buried beneath shame, hope finds a way to breathe. This stanza is not passive. It doesn't suggest maybe, possibly, someday things might get better. No, it declares, with unwavering confidence, still, I'll rise. Why? Because just like the celestial bodies above us, rising is part of our nature. You may have been bruised. You may be tired. You may not see the end yet, but deep in your spirit is a force aligned with the very tides of the earth. Your pain may be deep, but deeper still is your capacity to heal. Your sorrow may be heavy, but heavier still is your strength to stand again. You may bend, but you will not break. You may ache, but you will not fade, because you were never built to stay down. When Maya says, with the certainty of tides, she's giving you a promise. Your comeback is not a question. It is a certainty. You may not feel strong now. You may not even feel like you're moving forward, but every breath you take, every tear you release, every moment you choose to stay, that is rising. You are rising even now. So look to the sky. The same universe that commands the moon to glow, the sun to rise, the oceans to return, that same universe whispers into your soul. You too, rise. Even when the world tells you no. Even when your past tries to chain you. Even when fear claws at your chest and failure knocks on your door. You will rise, not because of what you have, not because of what you've done, but because of who you are, a soul born of the stars, a heartbeat made to continue, a light that even night cannot swallow. So no matter how dark the night, the sun will rise, and so will you, again, and again, and again. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines? Digging in my own backyard. There will always be those who are most comfortable when you are uncomfortable. People who feel taller when you are bowed. Safer when you are silent. Less threatened when your eyes are lowered, your shoulders slumped, your voice cracked with pain. Maya Angelou knew this truth intimately, and called it out with fearless clarity. Did you want to see me broken? The question isn't just rhetorical, it's an indictment. It's a confrontation of all those who have fed off someone else's weakness, all those who secretly hope you'll crumble so they don't have to confront your strength, all those who are soothed by your suffering because it reassures them that you won't rise above them. Maya doesn't cry here. She doesn't apologize. She shines a light on a cruel expectation that to be acceptable, you must be fragile. To be lovable, you must be quiet. To be palatable, you must be broken. But she refuses. This stanza is for every person who has ever been asked to stay small in order to be safe. For every woman who has been told her pride is a problem. For every person of color who has been told their confidence is threatening. For every human who has been told they must shrink in order to belong. There's nothing passive here. Maya doesn't beg for space, she claims it. And in the next stanza, she takes it even further. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't? You take it awful hard. It's the voice of someone who knows what they're worth, and no longer waits for permission to be radiant. Haughtiness, that word they throw like an insult, she wears like a crown. She flips the shame they try to place on her into a declaration of joy. 'Cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. And why shouldn't she? Why shouldn't you? Why shouldn't you laugh freely, fully, like you've got treasure hidden in your soul? Because you do. There is gold in you. Deep wells of strength. Rivers of wisdom. Generations of survival and light. But not everyone can handle that kind of joy. Not everyone can bear the brilliance of someone who refuses to be dimmed. Your confidence unsettles them, not because it's wrong, but because it reminds them of what they lack. Your laughter disturbs them, not because it's too loud, but because it echoes with the sound of someone who cannot be controlled. They want you to fold, to sit down, to disappear beneath the weight of shame, sorrow, and silence. But you weren't made to crumble. You weren't made to bend until you vanish. You were made to rise, head high, shoulders strong, laughter echoing like drums in the heart of the world. You were made to know your worth so deeply that when others question it, they only reveal their own insecurity. You are not broken. You are not bowed. You are bold, unashamed, unapologetic. Your spirit is untamed. Your joy is sacred, and your strength, your radiant, buried, unbreakable strength, is worth more than gold. So let them take it hard. Let them wrestle with their own discomfort, because your laughter isn't arrogance. It's liberation. And nothing is more powerful or more holy than that. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Some wounds don't bleed. Some weapons are invisible, yet just as sharp. A hateful glance, a cold silence, a cutting word, slipped into a sentence like a knife in the dark. Maya Angelou names them all. She doesn't pretend they don't exist. She doesn't deny the sting of violence, not the physical kind, but the emotional, psychological, social kind. The kind that tries to wound without leaving visible scars. The kind that kills slowly with looks, with slurs, with hate spoken behind closed doors. You may shoot me with your words. Words that carry bullets. Words spoken with intention to humiliate, degrade, reduce. You may cut me with your eyes. Eyes that judge. Eyes that try to turn confidence into shame. Eyes that say, how dare you exist like that, bold, free, whole. You may kill me with your hatefulness. Because hatred isn't just a feeling, it's a force. It isolates, it labels, it aims to erase. It doesn't always scream, sometimes, it whispers in institutions, in exclusion, in indifference. But then Maya shifts everything. But still, like air, I'll rise. Like air, not like steel, not like stone, not like fire. Air. The most powerful force we often forget. Air slips through cracks, flows past walls, dances where it pleases, untouchable, uncatchable, essential. You can try to contain it. You can try to block it. But air will find a way through. It always does. She's saying, you can hate me, you can insult me, you can try to crush me with cruelty, but I was never yours to destroy. My spirit cannot be suffocated. You can throw every weapon you have, but I will rise. Because I am air, and air cannot be broken. And then she turns again, just when they think they understand her strength. She adds something they didn't expect, sensuality. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise? There's a kind of confidence that makes people uncomfortable, not because it's offensive, but because it's unapologetic. Especially when that confidence lives in a woman. Especially when that woman is black. Especially when that woman owns her body, her beauty, her being, without asking for permission. Angelou is not asking if her sexiness is okay. She is calling out the discomfort people feel when she dances, in her own skin. That I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs. Not pearls, not lace diamonds, precious, eternal, unbreakable. She's telling the world, my body is not shame, it is power, it is joy, it is treasure. And yes, I move like I know it. This is not arrogance. This is survival. This is reclaiming what centuries tried to steal: dignity, joy, sensuality, sovereignty. She is a survivor, not just of violence but of erasure, of being told that her body should be hidden, that her laughter should be lowered, that her very existence should be more tolerable, more tame, more small. But no more. Maya Angelou declares herself free, free to rise like air, free to move like joy, free to dance like her very being is rich with diamonds. So if her power offends you, if her boldness makes you uneasy, if her laughter or presence or body or brilliance feels too much, that's not her burden, that's yours, because no weapon, not of word, of glance, or hate, can suffocate a soul that finally knows its worth. Out of the huts of histories, shame I rise up from a past that's rooted in pain. I rise, I'm a black ocean. Leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. There is a kind of pain that stretches beyond your own story. A sorrow that doesn't begin with your birth, and won't end with your name. It is the inherited ache, the kind passed down through bloodlines and silence, the kind woven into skin, into memory, into the very soil beneath your feet. Maya Angelou calls it what it is: history's shame. The huts of oppression, the wounds of slavery, the silent grief of generations forced to endure, to survive, to carry burdens never theirs to choose. She names it not to stay in it, but to rise from it. Out of the huts of histories, shame I rise. She does not deny the shame, but she does not wear it either, because it isn't hers. It never was. She acknowledges the pain of the past, but she does not let it define her. Instead, she declares her liberation. And not just her own, but the liberation of every soul who's ever carried chains, whether physical, emotional, cultural, or generational, up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. This is not denial. This is transcendence. She is saying, yes, I come from a story steeped in struggle. Yes, I carry the weight of wounds that came before me. But I will not be trapped by them. I will not drown in that sorrow. I will rise from it, not in spite of it, but because of it. She does not rise timidly. She does not rise quietly. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide. Let those words settle in your soul. She compares herself to an ocean, vast, wild, uncontainable. Not a lake, not a stream. An ocean full of depth, of power, of mystery. An ocean that has endured centuries of storms and still moves with grace and might. Welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. This is where her power crests. She bears it all, the sorrow, the injustice, the grief, and turns it into movement. She doesn't let the weight drown her. She uses it to push forward, to rise higher. Her tide is not a quiet ripple, it is a swelling force, rising with memory, with rage, with beauty, with joy. This is what legacy looks like. Not a story you're stuck in, but a history you rise from. Not pain that owns you, but pain that pushes you into power. You are not bound by what came before you. You are not the shame of your ancestors' wounds. You are the living proof that survival is possible, that healing is real, that liberation is not a fantasy, it's a birthright. And like the tide, your rising cannot be stopped. Let no one tell you your story begins in weakness. Let no one convince you that your identity is defined by what others did to your people. Let no one shrink your soul to fit their comfort. Because you are not the weight of your past, you are the wave rising from it. You are the black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, fierce, unapologetic, alive. This isn't just a stanza. It's a soul breaking through the surface after being held underwater for centuries. And it says, with the power of every voice that was ever silenced. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. There comes a moment in every life where you stop looking back with fear and start stepping forward with faith. Where the shadows behind you no longer define you. Where the night, no matter how long, no matter how cruel, finally ends. Maya Angelou captures this moment with perfect clarity, leaving behind nights of terror and fear. I rise. She does not forget the darkness, but she chooses to leave it. This is not pretending the pain wasn't real. This is honoring it, surviving it, and walking out of it. She speaks for every soul who ever trembled in the dark, every child who cried through nights of war, every woman who prayed through silence and survival, every man whose dreams were chained but never surrendered. She rises, not because the terror was small, but because the soul was bigger. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Can you feel it? The shift from night to morning, from fear to freedom, from captivity to clarity. This is more than sunlight. This is revelation. This is the breath you take when you finally realize you made it. Through the fire, through the sorrow, through the shame, through everything they said would break you, and now, the dawn belongs to you. But Maya doesn't rise alone. She brings something sacred with her, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. She carries voices, whispers from ships, songs from cotton fields, prayers from mothers who were never free, but never stopped believing that their children one day would be. These are not just poetic lines. They are a resurrection of legacy. Maya stands on a foundation built by those who had nothing yet dreamed everything. She walks into the future with the strength of 1,000 nameless hands behind her. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. This line does not just belong to Maya. It belongs to you, to everyone who has ever felt like they were born into a battle, carrying the weight of history, injustice, silence, or shame. You are the dream. You are the answered prayer. You are the proof that survival is not only possible, it is powerful. That what once was chained can now soar. That what was once silenced now sings. Maya says it 3 times, not by accident, but on purpose. I rise, I rise, I rise. Each repetition is a drumbeat of truth. The first is for the past, to honor the pain. The second is for the present, to declare your strength. The third is for the future, to promise your becomes. You are not just here by accident. You are not a fluke. You are not surviving by luck. You are here because someone, before you dared to hope. You are here because someone whispered a prayer in a locked room, or on a ship, or in a field, or in a war zone. A prayer that you would not just live, but rise. And now, you are the answer. You are the living evidence that light wins, that truth survives, that the human spirit is unconquerable. So breathe deeply, walk boldly, stand fully, because the poem is over, but your rising has only just begun. There is a moment when the darkness no longer defines you. When the chains of history fall silent, and the echoes of pain turn into songs of strength, you leave behind nights of terror and fear, and step into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. You carry the gifts your ancestors gave, their hopes, their fire, their dreams. You are not a shadow of suffering. You are the living proof that light survives, that hope rises again and again. You are the dream and the hope of those who came before. You are not small. You are not broken. You are the ocean, the dawn, the voice that will never be silenced. I rise, I rise, I rise.